My postcard today is from a small village on a long river with a very famous palace just up the road. We're in Hampton, in the county of Middlesex. The manor of Hampton is mentioned in the Domesday Book and was acquired by the Knights Hospitallers of St. John of Jerusalem in 1236 until Thomas Wolsey leased it in 1514 and pulled down the previous manor house to build his palace, situated about a mile upstream. But it is to the River Thames that we are heading first, as this is the reason the village is here in the first place.
Well, I'm going to follow in the footsteps of Julius Caesar. Well, perhaps not in the footsteps because we're going on a little ferry. But when Julius Caesar came here and crossed the River Thames, he found the place treeless and dreary. What a terrible thing to say. But there's been a ferry crossing this part of the River Thames from Middlesex to Surrey since the early 1500s. And this new ferry actually began its new life back in 1996. Let's have a little go on this, shall we? And we'll go over to the banks of Surrey, West Moseley. Hello.
Good morning.
How are you doing? What's your name?
John.
John.
Yep.
This is John. We're going to go on a little boat ride. So, John, what made you actually start taking the ferry up again?
It's been here since, as you said earlier, since the early 1500s, and we thought that there's, even today, still a good use for the ferry. It died out pretty much when Hurst Park Racecourse closed down, and the main traffic then stopped. But we still thought, with the traffic on Hampton Court Bridge and Walton Bridge, that people might use this as an alternative form of transport. We get a lot of people cycling down in the mornings or parking their cars in the Ombridge car park and coming across. We get a lot of people going to work on the ferry. We've got a lot of people or children going backwards and forwards to schools and colleges on the ferry, and it's proved us right to some extent.
Has it been difficult, though, to start something like this off?
It's been extremely difficult. Perhaps if we'd known everything that we would have had to go through, we might have been less enthusiastic in the first place. There's so many bodies that we've had to work with. With the council have been very supportive. The Environment Agency we've had to go through, English Heritage, Thames Water, Thames Conservancy. There's so many different organisations that we've needed various permissions from that I can understand to some extent. It's a very important ferry, and they've got to make sure that it's being run properly.
How long was there not a ferry here? When was the last one?
It was running very intermittently for the last sort of 10 years or so, and the previous tenants then decided that they wouldn't take up the option of another 15 years lease, which is what Richmond Council offered us.
Right. Well, good luck in all you do.
Thank you very much.
And I'm going to step out on Surrey shore and claim it for Middlesex.
Good idea.
We're in Surrey. I've set foot in Surrey. I claim this soil for the county of Middlesex. Right, I've done that. I'm going to get back on now. Now, this is the Church of St Mary's in Hampton, just down the road from the palace. Now, it's interesting that this church actually has a record of a vicar before there's a record of a church. But what we do know is that St Mary's served Hampton Court Palace because the palace wasn't licensed for marriage or burials. So they ought to traipse down from the court to this church to get wed or to get buried. Now, Queen Adelaide, the wife of William IV, was a particular benefactress of this area and this church, and used to get involved in local dues and community work. Because this whole royal connection of not just Hampton Court, but spread throughout the parish of Hampton here in Middlesex. And to this day, this particular parish is actually part of Queen Elizabeth's gift. I'm standing on the Hampton Court Road, and you can see how busy it is. And that great Georgian actor David Garrick, even in his day, complained how loud and noisy this road was with the coaches that used to come along here. He lived in that house over there, and he had a tunnel which is just further up the road, not so far along, which used to come under this road down to his gardens by the riverside, and down there he built a temple to Shakespeare. Well, I'm standing here in the middle of Bushy Park, and all of this park was a royal hunting park that belonged to Hampton Court Palace. Cardinal Wolsey got this as part of that package of land, that 99-year lease. And of course what happened was Henry loved his sport, loved his hunting, and he would come here and do all of those things. In 1638, they built an artificial river called the Longford River. It comes out from just over there and is fed by